Hey everyone, and welcome back to Country Music Made Me. Thank you so much for joining us once again. As always, please be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us wherever you are listening. You can leave us a review, a rating, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come on over and have a listen. That support is huge. Today, we are joined by Ivy and Sophie of country music duo Walker County. Now, they started young. They started their career when they were 9 and 12 after a family trip to Nashville where they did some busking on the side of the street and realized that, well, they loved it. That's what they wanted to do. And so they began a band. They performed around their hometown of Sulphur Springs, Indiana, playing festivals and birthdays, really anything they could to get on stage. Now in 2014, they signed with Warner Music Nashville and moved full-time to Music City. Since then, they have been building their career and it's really been flourishing over 2020 and 2021. So please enjoy our conversation with Ivy and Sophie of Walker County. You've basically been to every state now though, right? You've toured through just about every state?
Yeah,
It's
pretty much.
close.
I think there's just a handful that we haven't hit.
We've got to start putting like pins.
I was
going
going to say Hawaii is the first one I'm going to go.
We haven't been there yet.
But no, I think like Montana, we haven't been to.
But
But
we've
it's
been
just
close
very
to
few,
everywhere.
very
Yeah.
few.
And I know New York City was a big one for you. Why? Talk about why that was so big, why that was so special going to New York City.
So as a little kid and today, I have been a fan of musicals, Broadway, like I'm obsessed. And just like with the vibe of that city, it's so artsy, you know, you dream of New York as this like sparkly, glamorous place. And we got to go in 2019 for the very first time when we were on the CMT tour with Michael Ray, and it lived up to its expectations.
It was, yes, we loved it. And we didn't get to see a Broadway play, but we got to walk down where, Times Square and everything.
Go, like
so
we love watching the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. So we got to see the Macy's, or that is, and we were like living the New York dream. We got to see the Rockefeller tree, which was awesome. Next time we go back though, we're going to see a play for sure.
Well, Ivy, I was going to ask you because I did see that you're really into musicals. And so I was wondering if there's a dream of ever being part of a big musical and doing more stage performing.
Absolutely. I get chills even thinking about it. No. I love, I always said I wanted to pull like a Reba where she, she did like the crossover and like
Jennifer
performed
Nettles.
on Broadway. Jennifer Nettles did as well for Sugarland. So it's like, it would be a dream come true to get to do like a crossover, a country artist star on Broadway.
And Ivy could definitely do it. I hear her singing all the soundtracks. I'm like, dang, you should be like a lead in something. So she could definitely do it.
That is amazing. And one of the more recent shows that you had in September was at the Middleton Fall Fun Fest.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's like 15 minutes away from your hometown.
It was, yeah. Middletown is actually where we went to school. Our high school was in Middletown. So we know everybody in that town, basically.
My grandma lived in Middletown forever.
Yeah.
And it was just so nice. We had a great turnout. We had all our friends and family come out, and it was just so much fun. They sang the words to all our songs.
Oh, yeah.
It was one of the best shows in a while, and it was just a blast.
It's cool because, our hometown, they were such big supporters. And Sophie and I started playing music when Sophie was 9 and I was 12. They were the ones who hired us for festivals, fairs, birthday parties, weddings. I mean, they are definitely a big part of our story. So to come back home and get to do that every year, really close to where we grew up, is like super special.
Yeah, that's got to be so cool because a lot of the times if people are from small towns, they have to go like an hour or two away to actually play a show because that's the next city. And so being so close, that must be pretty cool.
It was. And we're hoping to do it like, it's like an annual thing. We're hoping to come back next year too.
Yeah. We're like in town. Yeah.
I was wondering if you're ever going to get to a point where you can put on a festival in your hometown on like the Walker land.
See, we've already
You're
dreamed
reading
all
our
this
minds.
up.
We've dreamed this up. So the Walker family farm, it's about 100 acres, and our family still farms it. We've got a bunch
There's
of space.
plenty of space.
And
yeah.
our cousin Johnny Walker, he's ready to do it too. Like Dad's called him up and he's like, hey, what about like a Walker County Fest? And he's like, tell me when. I'll start planning. The family is on board for sure. Yeah.
Now, I want to talk about this family because family is a big deal for you, I know. And so I wanted to ask about some specific family members and how they have influenced your journey. Your late Grandpa Joe and your Grandma Jill, what meaning did they have on your journey up to now?
They were so supportive. They were dream grandparents. And I know like most people's grandparents are like this. We just had a different circumstance. You know, as children, we were playing shows, but they were always in the front row. They had their t-shirts on. They went to all the concerts. One time, it was like in the middle of summer, my grandpa had a heart attack at the show. Did not
Really?
tell anybody.
Yes.
He didn't tell anyone. He sat there.
And watched the entire show and then went home and he was like, I think something's wrong.
I don't feel good.
Thank the Lord. Okay.
He's
But
all right,
literally,
yes.
like they were ride or die supporters.
He watched he was there till the end of the show, and that's how they were. And my grandma has ALS now and can't get out, but she was able to come to the Middletown Fall Fun Fest and sit there with all her friends and family and watch the show. And that was so special. I was so glad that she was able to be there.
Wow. And another family member who you lost recently was your Uncle Bobby. He was in the video for the Hamptons. What did he mean for you?
You know, the Walker family is so close, and we were very blessed to have a family like that. And he was our great uncle, and he was, you know, him and my Aunt Judy, they, you know, were married for a long time, and they just love their nieces and grandchildren. We actually would call them Grandma and Grandpa Walker, because they were just Grandpa Bobby and Grandma Judy, because they were like grandparents to us, you know, would put a happy birthday in the newspaper to us every year. Yeah. And we're very blessed with the family we have. That's why we go back home so often. We live in Nashville now, but we're in Indiana almost once a month, just getting to see those people because they mean so much. And when Uncle Bobby passed, we got to sing at his, you know, funeral. And that was a very special moment for us, to get to sing and comfort the family in that way.
Wow, that's awesome. And you mentioned starting music when you were 9 and 12. And so having that big of a family before you hit 9 and 12, when you were growing up, what did music mean within the family? Was everyone musical? Was music always on within the family?
Our family's big country music fans, so they definitely love country music. My dad is the one who really like nurtured the country music thing. He just listened to music all the time. Constantly, and it was loud and we were rocking out all the time. We listened to Dwight Yoakam, Willie Nelson. We listened to, oh my gosh, anything and everything. John Prine, you know, Leonard Skinner. So nothing was off limits either. And
Dad started playing the guitar when we were really little. And he always, like, once he saw Sophie and I had the slightest interest in singing, I mean, it was over. He was like, okay, this is what we're doing. So I sang all growing up in church and, you know, at talent shows.
Just loved to sing.
I just loved it. And, right around 2007, so when we were 9 and 12, we went on a family vacation to Nashville, and Dad was like, hey, let's street perform just to say we did it. And so Sophie and I were like, okay. And we opened the guitar case and sang maybe like 4 songs. It wasn't very, and then we got in a fight.
Like sisters do.
Sophie kicked me, but that's okay. And Dad closed the guitar case. He's like, okay, it's, you know, we're done. So we ended up going back home, and he was like, you guys made like $10. And he was like, what if we learn an hour's worth of music, go back down to Nashville, and whatever we make, you girls can split. And so we were like hooked. We're like, yeah, we just go shopping. So we did that the next month and made like $200. And that was
we
like,
were rich.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to buy all the shoes and clothes and stuff.
I think you bought like a Build-A-Bear or Webkins or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So we loved it. And Dad was like, you know, we could do this back home. If, you know, we get a little set together, and we started playing churches and festivals and birthday parties, just like we said. All our hometown people booked for us. So, and we just never stopped. We never had a weekend off. You know, we were constantly playing, and it was just God's plan, and it just all worked out.
Yeah.
Right. And now, Sophie, for you, I saw a picture on your Instagram. You must have been like 3, maybe. And you and Ivy were doing a bedroom performance, it looked like. And you had a xylophone and a little toy. It wasn't a shaker, but it made a sound like a shaker, I think. And so, and in that first performance in Nashville that you talk about, busking, I believe you had a tambourine. And so were you always interested in the percussion part of music growing up?
I really did. I just gravitated towards it. When we first started, I started playing mandolin, and it was like a bluegrass little guitar thing, pretty much.
But it's very percussive.
It keeps the rhythm of the song. So I always had that. And then one day we were starting to get more like wedding gigs and things like that. And people weren't wanting to dance to bluegrass music. So Dad was like, let's take it up a notch. And he bought me a drum kit, sparkly drum kit. And he was like, you want to be the drummer? I just thought that was so cool for a little girl to be playing drums. I thought it was going to be neat. So I was so excited to do that. And that's where and it was the perfect place for me, because I don't love to be right up front and center, and I'm not the vocalist Ivy is. So that's perfect for me to be behind the drums, singing backup. I just love it. And
was it pretty natural for you when you started banging away?
Yeah, no, I definitely, looking back now, I'm like, it definitely wasn't natural. I had to learn a lot. But I just, you know what, my dad just let me learn and make mistakes, which was wonderful, because it made me develop my own sound.
You took a couple lessons from the drummer at our church, and then really you were self-taught after that, which you just kind of like took a few basic lessons, and then we just started playing, and it was trial and error a little bit, wasn't it?
No, old home videos where I'm like, I'm going so fast, like I need to slow down. It's hilarious, but I'm glad we have those videos. They're fun to look back on.
That is awesome. And you keep talking about your dad and the influence he had on you, but when you look at it now, he is still your guitarist. But I think that people could maybe get the impression that he pushed you into it. You know, he was a guitarist and he wanted to have a band. He wanted his kids to be in a band, but it really feels like that is not the case. He is not out here to say, look at me, I'm in this band with my daughters. It really is all about you and him supporting you.
We always say this because, people will be like, we'll actually joke with them and be like, okay, Joe Jackson from the Jackson 5, but he always says, when I saw the girls sing for the first time, he said, it clicked in my head that the reason I was playing music was not for me, it was for my girls. Like, it just immediately clicked. And he was like, because right there, what he saw was what he had been, searching for and dreaming of. And so he is so supportive, and he always says, he's like, the coolest thing about playing guitar for your girls is like, he always tells other parents, he's like, when you get to see your kids hit a home run every game, he's like, I get to stand up there on stage and see my girls hit a home run every show. Like, that's he's like, that's what I love. I just get to stand back and watch it happen. And so he's so supportive in that sense. And
everything he does is just with our best interest in mind. He knew we had a talent, and I know it was sent from God, and he just nurtured that. And he made sure that we knew the importance of, what we could do with our music, and the impact we could make on younger girls and little boys, that are listening and looking up to us. So he definitely, it was definitely not like you would think, it was all for the greater good. No, he's the best.
And what about your mom? She's more the behind the scenes supporter, but I know on social media you talk about the sacrifices that she has made so you can follow this dream. So what has she meant?
Yeah, she had a 25-year-long beauty shop business in our hometown. And I mean, she had all the clients. She was making good money with it, and she gave it all up to move to Nashville with us. And she was like, you girls, she was like, I know it's going to work. And she's like, we're going to make it work. So they literally gave up their whole lives back home to help us.
Cause we were so young when we first moved. Sophie was only 15 when we first moved to Nashville. So, I mean, we had to have our parents come with us, and they were just 100%, we'll give up what we need to come and make this work, which was so cool. And Mom still does our hair. She's still our beautician on the road.
Merch too. She'll sell merch for us. And
if you come to a show, I always say, go say hi to Mama Walker County. She's back there selling merch, because she loves to talk to everybody. She's a talker, so she'll become your best friend.
I think we get that from her.
That's awesome. And so what year was it that you actually moved to Nashville? Was it around 2012-ish?
14, right?
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
Was it 2014?
Yeah.
Was
2014.
Okay.
So how did it all work with signing with Warner then? Because that happened in 2014 as well, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So we were actually in our hometown, and we had made an EP with a guy in Indy, and he gave it to a guy here in Nashville to mix. And the guy here in Nashville was actually on the Grammy board at the time. And he was like, hey, can I hand this out to a few people? And we were like, yes, like definitely, please. So he gave it to some folks over at Warner, and they called my dad while he was on the job in Indiana, driving around, and they were like, we'd love to meet with the girls. And he was like, I'm bringing them in, so we came in, we made a trip here.
And got to play for the label, and they called us 2 hours later and offered us a full deal and full writing deal. So as like, we were 15, right? You were 15 at the time.
I was 15.
Okay. I was going to say, 15. I was like 18. And so it was kind of like this whirlwind. It all just happened. I had just graduated high school, and I was like, yeah, music is what I want to do. And then here it was right in front of us, the deal and the publishing deal. So we had a meeting the next day, and they're like, you'll move to Nashville, you'll start writing. And really for those first 4 years we lived here, we just wrote like crazy. I think the first year we wrote 150 songs.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Crazy. But really, I mean, and then these past 3 years have been really focused on us and the record and what we wanted to do. But we definitely grew up here in town. It was crazy.
And so what was that like when 2014 hit and you sign a record deal? Being so young, did you understand what that meant? Realistically?
Kind of, but I don't think.
No, it was a lot different than probably what we had in our minds at the time. But
I think we thought it would happen like that. We'd put a record out and, put music out immediately. Don't you think?
Yeah, no. And that's just honestly, it wasn't realistic, just because, we had to come here and grow up a little bit and
we're
really
so young. Yeah.
Get some good stuff first. But, I think that it was kind of they threw us in to the whole writing world, which was new to us. We had written back home, but we didn't really know how a song was actually written, know? So it was really cool.
I remember the first songwrite or the write we had, we used to write using this basket of lyrics that we had, and we would bring in this basket and we would just start pulling things and thinking of ideas and then writing them down in a notebook. And then we walk in and everybody's got laptops and these big things. And we were like, okay, this is not how you write. Oh, cool. So it was really funny though. And, we were writing songs about drinking a beer, and we'd never drank a beer in our lives.
Right. Yeah.
So it was a lot of growing up, and, but it was cool because while we were still writing and still young, we got to tour with these amazing artists like Loretta Lynn and Willie Nelson and Dwight Yoakam. So we were still on the road playing while we were learning and creating here in Nashville. So it was a cool time.
And do you think that because you went when you were young, maybe that helped getting thrown into the deep end and maybe being a bit naive rather than being older and having these insecurities built in and maybe not trusting yourself as much to kind of be thrown into the deep end like that?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that, it's been 7 years, but we're still young and we still have time, to figure things out. So I definitely think it was to an advantage that we were younger, getting thrown in here. Also,
and we look back now and we go like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that in the right with so and so. Like, but we were so young.
We've grown up so much. Yeah, I think it's been great. It's been wonderful for us, and I'm very blessed we have had this opportunity at all.
And now we feel very confident when we go into a room and we go into a writing room, because we feel like, I mean, we're still, of course, learning, but we feel very confident in what we're writing now and the life we have lived. We have a lot more experience, and a lot of the songs that are newer that we're excited to put out into the world are coming from the heart. They're a lot more heart, felt, and we're excited to share those with everybody.
And you talk about those first few years of basically just writing and hitting the road a bit. But from the outside looking in, for me, when I'm looking at your journey, it feels like 2019 was really the start of your journey as artists. Feels like that's the start of this chapter. And especially when the Hamptons came out. And so, yeah, does it feel like that for you as well?
Absolutely. Totally. Yeah. I think once we got a song out, we were really excited to put on Spotify and really see what it did playlisting and streaming wise. We were so excited to see that. And a lot of people, it was on CMT, it got us on the CMT Next Women of Country 2020. So it was really exciting. I think that you're right. That was definitely the start of this chapter for sure.
Oh yeah.
And touring with Michael Ray and Jimmy Allen in 2019 on the CMT tour, what was that like? Like you say, you had toured before with some big names, but going on a tour like that, was that sort of your first experience with being on a long tour as an artist?
I mean, it was like, beforehand we would go somewhere and they'd be like, oh, we didn't even know that they were having an opening act.
More and one-off. So they didn't have our name on the flyer or the billboard.
But our name was on the bus this go around. We were on the flyer.
Coming.
Yeah. That was so awesome. And they were such a good group to have our first real tour experience with, because both Michael is the sweetest guy ever. And so is Jimmy, and all their crew just were
so nice.
They took really good care of us. They would come up to us before almost every show and be like, what do you girls need? Do you need anything? Is there anything we can do? And so we felt very well taken care of. And it's the same with now that we're on tour with Old Dominion. They're the same. The group is so helpful to Sophie and I, and just a really good group of people. Yeah.
And what was it like getting on stages like that, coming from sort of back home doing churches and birthday parties and whatever shows you could get, to all of a sudden playing with these country greats and the up and comers and playing these bigger shows? Did you have to sort of learn how to perform on stage differently?
Yeah, it's definitely different than playing for 12 people at a gravel pit or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, everybody's that's the great thing about country music fans is they love new music, and they come to the shows. They are excited to learn who you are, your songs.
Yes.
And it was so exciting. And every moment was kind of have to pinch yourself. Is this real? We're really doing this. It's just so awesome. And we never want to take it for granted. It's so much fun. We love live.
And that CMT tour, that ended right at the end of 2019. And then 2020 hit. So how important was that tour in just giving you the confidence that you were moving in the right direction, even though the world was shutting down?
Just finishing that tour, and then we had that group of songs that we were getting ready to put out. It kept us sane through the pandemic for sure. We were okay, we've got music to put out. Things are coming. Because I think, if we hadn't had those songs, we would have been what is going on? What are we doing with our lives? But luckily, we still were able to do photo shoots and video shoots for these songs that were coming out, and release Shovel and Drag It Out. And so those songs were very important. We got to feel like we were still living life and still, contributing to the world of country music in some way.
And how cool is it, after all these years of being on Warner, to have that support, that they're saying, even though the world is shut down, we still want to push you forward. We still want to get your music out there.
Yeah. We were so glad, because we were afraid it was going to be another year before we could release this stuff we were so excited about. and they said, we're still going to do it. We're
Yeah.
still going to push it just like if the world was open, you know, and
because honestly, streaming was still going really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were at the house, so they were just streaming constantly. Like the music was actually streaming really well. So, and I think they kind of were like, we don't know what will happen when we put it out, but we're going to push it like it's normal. So, luckily it went good.
And the songs, some you write, some you don't. Now, after those years of building up as writers within Nashville, how important is it for you to step back and not always push your own stuff and be looking at those outside cuts?
Yeah. You know, Nashville is so talented. It's full of the talented writers, you know, in the world. Mm-hmm. And so we just knew, like, getting to meet those writers and sit down in a room with them. We knew we weren't, you know, there's so much talent. You don't want to miss out on it just to say, these are only my songs. Like, I only want to cut my songs. We understand why it is important, because those songs that we do write, they definitely do come from the heart. But there are some songs we've heard that we were like, that sounds like it's written for us. Like the Hamptons, we didn't write, but we felt so connected to that song. We felt like we were like, man, this song tells our childhood story right here. And so we never want to take the other writers for granted, because there's so much talent.
Yeah.
And Bits and Pieces is the song that was released this year, your first song to country radio. And so what was that experience like? Was it a different experience than the singles you released last year, because it was going to radio and maybe it felt like more of a kickstart?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to come out the gate with something fun and up tempo, because that's how we are live. And I think that song is perfect for that. There's definitely a lot more like pressure and like anxiety behind it, because we wanted it to work out well, you know. But we just loved that song, and it was when we were pitched as well. And we knew that like it was catchy, it was fun. I think it was what a lot of people like about country music. So
and hearing that being played on the radio is so cool. Like you were in the truck stop.
Yeah, I was somewhere in Idaho, I think. And I woke up, we had driven all night, and I was like, you know how you're kind of like walking a gas station.
She was like, sleeping. I was kind of like groggy.
I'm just going to be candid. I was sitting down peeing, and our intro of our song came on.
So sent me a snap.
I was like, I was awake, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like on the toilet and listening to my song.
She was like, there's no way I can post this on social media, but this is really cool.
So I hurried and got up. I was filming. I could not believe it. And I walked out, my bass player, he was traveling with us too. And he looked at me and was like, heck. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is so weird.
So it's really cool to be like hearing those songs and the radio stations that are so supportive of the new artists and the new music to even just play our song. It's so crazy.
And with a song like that was a demo that you heard, and I believe it was sung by a male when you heard the demo. And so when you're listening to songs like that, and even when you're writing, I mean, you have two voices that you have, and I imagine you both want to resonate with the song. And you also have to be thinking about the harmonies that are going to be going into this. And so how does that all work, both with listening to a demo and writing?
Yeah. For a male song, it's funny because when you hear a demo sang by a guy, it's a little different, because sometimes it is more difficult to sing. That one actually worked perfect, and the harmonies were perfect. But when we're writing, Ivy and I feel like we're on such the same plane when it comes to stuff. And if I know that Ivy can relate to this song with her whole heart, then I definitely will be able to as well, just because we're so close and we understand each other, you know. Which
it's funny, in a writing room, we spend too much time together. We finish each other's sentences and we finish each other's song lines, because there's so many times in a writing room where like I'll just look at her and she'll know exactly what I'm thinking, or if we like don't like something, I'll give a look and she'll be like, it's funny. We're very like intuitive with each other on that, but luckily we do have the same. Like we both have the same style in music, and we both have the same, like we know what we like. Yeah. And so we don't really, battle it out very often for a song. We're both usually on board or like, no, this isn't right. There's been very few times where Sophie's been like, I really love it, and I've not felt it or something like that, but that's like really rare.
And now a song that you have, I believe it's unreleased, is No You Could, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about the writing process of that because I believe it was your first Zoom write when all of this went down. And Ivy, I heard that this was a song that you kind of went into the write and just kind of poured your heart out because you had just gone through a breakup. And so I wanted to ask about that and just how comfortable you have become in the writing room to be able to just pour out those emotions.
Yeah.
It is funny how you go into a room with strangers and you just have to basically pour your heart out to them. But that's exactly how this song was like born. It was AJ Pruitt and Thomas Fincham, and we've since then they're really good friends and we know them very well. But it was our first write with them and our first Zoom write, and we hopped on, and literally the breakup was very fresh. It had just happened like the week before, and I just sat down and I just was like, this guy played me, like he basically just dated me just to say he dated me. Like that was the whole like premise of this song. And I was like, he just basically wanted to say he was able to break my heart. And so we just like, I told him everything, and I
think you came in with the idea of you could,
and I'm sure they're probably like, this girl's insane, but because I just was like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and
it got one of our very favorite songs out of it, and I can't believe it because Zoom writes are just different, and it's not the same as being in the same room as everybody. But that one just worked so perfectly, and we write with them all the time now. But
and then we put a little snippet of it on TikTok, and we got a really big response, and we're hoping to put that song out because it's a very special song to us, and a lot of people were saying they can relate to it, so we're hoping to get that song out into the world.
That is awesome. And let's talk about the new single, Liar.
Yes.
It just came out at the beginning of October. Now, all of your music, there's a different vibe. It feels every song has sort of its own vibe. And this one is a more soulful jam, it feels like. And so how important is it for you to have that eclectic mix and not just follow one path through your music?
Yeah, I think that all comes down to the type of music we grew up on. Like I said, my dad played anything and everything, and we always said if it was a good song, we liked it. You know, it didn't matter what genre it was. So we definitely have tons of different inspirations like coming into our sound. So we want to make sure like people know we can do a bunch of different stuff. And so Liar is definitely more soulful. Ivy just has that nice soulful voice anyway, just naturally. So that was really fun to kind of share with everybody. And just when we play the live, it's so fun. We just kind of get to rock out and be sassy and everything. But that song is so fun. And I honestly, it's one of my very favorites. And I hope it resonates with a lot of people.
And you talked at the beginning, I believe, that you do have more music that you're excited about, emotional music that you've sort of poured yourself into. And so what is the plan moving forward? Is there a plan for an EP or an album that we can look forward to?
We hope so very soon. I know, we're sitting down and we're going back in and cutting more songs here very shortly. We're super excited about it.
Excited,
and because we've got that handful of songs that we've written over the past 2 years that we're like super excited to share with the world. And so we're going to go back in and cut and put more music out, and hopefully it leads to a full-length album or EP. I'm hoping sometime next year-ish, but I can't say for sure, but I'm hoping it'll be out sometime next year. But I know we're releasing more songs very soon. So there's definitely more to come from Walker County.
That is awesome. And with your writing that you do for others, you had a cut that Blake Shelton took for his movie in 2019. Now, what does that mean as songwriters? And is that still sort of a big portion of your day to day, aside from being an artist, is being a songwriter?
Yeah, you know, it's crazy because a lot of the time, like that song that Blake cut, we were writing for ourselves. We go into the room and we write for ourselves as artists, but sometimes it's like we don't like with Wallflowers and Weeds, we just never found the right time to cut it, or we really loved it, but it just never ended up working out for us.
It was a song we loved. So when they asked us for a kind of uplifting, like positive song about like, you know, your body image and everything,
that immediately popped into our,
okay. So we sent it over, and the fact that he wanted to cut that, it was amazing, and we just could not believe it.
It makes us feel like real songwriters. We're like, oh, we're like, actually real songwriters. You know?
But yeah, we do write quite a bit. Whether we're writing for ourselves or writing for somebody else, we do love to write. With tour happening, it's slowed down a little bit recently, but once we're at the end of the year, usually things slow down. So we'll probably be writing a lot in the next few months.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what does the rest of the year hold? Is this Old Dominion run sort of the last thing to wrap up the year, and then, sort of take that break until the spring?
Yeah, so we have shows up until December with Old Dominion, which is great. I think our last show with them is in Florida in December, so that'll be fine.
That's not bad.
No, right? And that whole experience has been amazing. It's really filled up our summer and fall. And so we're keeping very busy with that. We did have the Tanya Tucker shows, but they ended up getting moved, which we were bummed about because that was supposed to happen in November, but those got, moved around. But we're hoping that still something happens maybe next year with that, because she's been somebody we've looked up to for years. And then, basically it winds down during Thanksgiving and Christmas time, but I think we're going to be singing the national anthem at a Colts game coming up, which is going to be awesome.
That might not be out yet, but
I know, I'm like, maybe shouldn't say, but I'll say it because we're Indiana, we're the Colts.
I cannot wait. I'm like telling my whole family, like, get tickets now.
I know. So we've got some exciting things coming up, but the Old Dominion stuff is definitely what's winding down the year.
That is awesome. And when you look back on when you started this at 9 and 12 years old, and now you look to where you are today, do you sometimes have to remind yourself to enjoy it and look at what you're actually been able to do?
Definitely.
After you do it for so long, there are some days where it feels like a job, which seems so silly to say because it is honestly, it's our dream come true. We say it a lot, but it is a actual dream come true. Like, it's so crazy. So we always try and just be thankful for where we're at, where we've gone. And
I will say, doing it as a family, our family keeps us very grounded, and we're very close, and starting out so young and starting out the way we did, every victory, whether it seems small to other people, it's very big for us. We celebrate it like it's, we won a Grammy or something. So we're always like, let's have a glass of champagne. We got to celebrate, this happened. But that's how we celebrate every small victory for us. So that's, I think that's the way we live life, is even whether it seems small to somebody else, it's very big to us.
Yes.
That is amazing. Well, congratulations on everything, and especially the last couple of years, the rise that you've been on and that you continue to hit. It's awesome to see, and congratulations, and thank you for joining us.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having us. This was great.
So fun. Thank you.
Thank you once again for listening, and thank you to Ivy and Sophie for stopping by and sharing their story. Be sure to check out everything from Walker County wherever you stream your music. Please also be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe to us wherever you are listening. You can leave us a review, a rating, tell your friends, your family, your neighbors to come on over and have a listen. That support is huge. Thanks once again for listening, and we'll see you next time on Country Music Made Me.